WNBA is getting a new team, the Golden State Valkyries. The team is set to make a slam dunk on the court in 2025.
The Indiana Fever are on the verge of a major shakeup. With the WNBA Expansion Draft looming, star players like Caitlin Clark could be at risk of leaving not just the team, but the league entirely. Will the Fever manage to hold on to their core, or is this the beginning of an era-defining exodus? Stick around as we dive into how the Fever's future is hanging by a thread, with crucial roster decisions and overseas opportunities threatening to change everything. The expansion draft for the Golden State Valkyries is the hot topic in the WNBA right now, and its implications for teams like the Indiana Fever are massive. Every team will lose one player to the new franchise, and for a team like the Fever that's struggling to find consistency, this could be a devastating blow. The Fever's roster has already faced its fair share of challenges, but now the expansion draft is about to add another layer of uncertainty. Losing a key contributor to the draft could stall the progress the Fever have made, especially with Caitlin Clark leading the way. Teams can only protect 6 players, so tough choices are going to have to be made. And with the Valkyries eyeing talent across the league, the Fever must prepare for the possibility of losing someone vital to their rotation. Whether it's a role player or a potential breakout star, this draft could disrupt everything the Fever have been building. Caitlin Clark has been the cornerstone of the Fever's resurgence, transforming them from a team near the bottom of the standings into a must-watch franchise. Her impact goes beyond just stats. She's drawing fans, media attention, and bringing new life to a team that desperately needed it. However, there's a growing concern that Clark's time in the WNBA might not last as long as fans would hope. Clark has hinted at frustrations with the WNBA's structure and the lack of respect she's faced, both as a player and as a leader in the league. The low salaries in the WNBA compared to overseas opportunities add fuel to the fire. European leagues, particularly in countries like Spain, Turkey, and Russia, offer much more lucrative contracts. As a result, it's not out of the realm of possibility that Clark could be swayed to leave the WNBA for financial stability and more professional respect overseas. If the Fever lose Clark, it wouldn't just be a blow to the team, it would be a huge loss for the WNBA as a whole. The league has struggled to retain top talent, and Clark's departure would send shockwaves through the entire WNBA landscape. The Fever's front office is aware of this threat, but whether they can do enough to keep Clark committed to the WNBA remains a huge question mark. With the expansion draft on the horizon, the Fever have a tough decision ahead. They can only protect 6 players. Caitlin Clark, Kelsey Mitchell, and Aaliyah Boston are almost certainly locked in, but that leaves little room for the rest of the roster. Players like Lexi Hull, Melissa Smith, and Tammy Fag-Benley are in a precarious position, as the Fever will have to make tough choices on who to protect. The decision-making process won't be easy. Do they gamble and leave a promising young player unprotected? Or do they focus on securing veterans who can provide stability in the locker room? The expansion draft could easily reshape the Fever's roster overnight, and if the wrong player is left unprotected, the team could face setbacks for seasons to come. Managing this situation effectively is crucial for the Fever's future success. One of the biggest challenges for the WNBA right now is player salaries. Compared to international leagues, the WNBA offers significantly lower pay, which has led to many top players considering or outright leaving for overseas opportunities. Gabby Williams is just one example, having recently left the WNBA for a more lucrative deal abroad. This growing trend has WNBA executives worried about player retention, especially with the league expanding. For players like Caitlin Clark, who is already one of the biggest names in basketball, the financial discrepancy between the WNBA and overseas leagues is a significant concern. While the WNBA has made strides in marketing and exposure, it still struggles to offer competitive salaries, particularly for players looking to maximize their earning potential during their peak playing years. If the league can't address this, more stars may follow in Gabby Williams' footsteps, leaving for higher-paying contracts overseas. This would not only hurt the Fever, but could also put the entire WNBA at a disadvantage in retaining its top talent. Looking ahead, the Fever's front office has some tough decisions to make. Free agency is fast approaching, and they'll need to decide which underperforming players to cut and which ones to retain for the future. The potential loss of Kelsey Mitchell in free agency would be devastating, especially if the team can't fill her role with a similarly impactful player. Add in the uncertainty surrounding the expansion draft, and the Fever's roster could look very different by the time next season tips off. Speculation is rampant about which players will stay and who might be on the way out. Underperforming players are likely to be cut, and the Fever will need to be strategic in finding replacements that fit well alongside Clark in Boston. This offseason could mark a pivotal moment for the Fever. Do they try to make one big splash in free agency, or do they focus on developing young talent to build a sustainable core for the future? The stakes couldn't be higher for the Fever as they navigate this delicate balancing act between retaining their current stars and building for long-term success. The Indiana Fever's future hangs in the balance. Will the team be able to survive the expansion draft without losing a key player? Will Caitlin Clark stay committed to the WNBA, or will overseas opportunities lure her away? And most importantly, can the Fever assemble a roster that's ready to compete for a championship? All eyes are on the Fever as they prepare for a potentially franchise-defining offseason. Stay tuned as this drama unfolds, because the future of the Fever, and maybe even the WNBA itself, depends on it.
There were regular season games this season where Caitlin Clark drew more than 1.8 million viewers. However, I hope Kat Engelbert is ready for disappointment, because there's a hell of a lot more of it on the way.
It seems like the WNBA has a target on Caitlin Clark's back, and recent incidents suggest that it's not just about basketball. From on-court bullying to racial allegations, players like Dejuni Carrington, Alyssa Thomas, and Angel Reese have made it clear that Clark isn't entirely welcome. Are these tensions boiling over, and could they push Clark to leave the WNBA altogether? Let's break down the latest drama and explore the speculation that Caitlin Clark might be heading to Europe. Caitlin Clark's rise as one of the WNBA's brightest stars hasn't come without controversy. Ever since she entered the league, the divide between her and many of the league's established players has been undeniable. The tension doesn't seem to stem purely from her play style or dominance on the court. It's starting to get personal. Recent incidents have highlighted just how intense this animosity has become, with some fans and analysts speculating that many WNBA players may want Clark out of the league. Whether it's the constant trash talk, physical play that borders on dirty, or the allegations of racism that have arisen, it's becoming increasingly clear that Clark's presence in the league is stirring up strong emotions. Caitlin Clark and Dejuni Carrington recently found themselves at the center of attention during a highly competitive WNBA playoff game. The matchup between the Indiana Fever and the Connecticut Sun escalated tensions between the two players. Just 90 seconds into the game, Carrington accidentally poked Clark in the eye during a physical play. The result? A black eye for Clark, who later downplayed the incident, stating it wasn't intentional by any means, just watch the play.
On the play with her eye, what would you say to the crowd of people that think a hit like that was intentional?
It wasn't intentional by any means. You just watched the play. It wasn't intentional.
All right, thanks, Caitlin.
Despite Clark's efforts to brush it off, the incident sparked intense social media speculation, with some fans questioning Carrington's intent. Carrington, for her part, strongly denied any malicious intent, saying,
I don't even know why I would intend to hit anybody in the eye. That doesn't even make sense to me, but no, I didn't. I didn't know I hit her, actually. I was trying to make a play on the ball, and I guess I followed through and I hit her, so obviously it's never intentional. That's not even like the type of player that I am. So yeah.
and emphasized that she was simply making a play on the ball. Although both players have tried to move past the incident, it has only added more fuel to their growing rivalry. The timing of the incident was especially unfortunate for Clark, who was making her playoff debut. She struggled throughout the game, shooting just 23.5% from the field, significantly below her regular season average of 41.7%. Meanwhile, Carrington and the Connecticut Sun dominated the Indiana Fever, securing a decisive 93-69 victory. As the rivalry between these two players heats up, fans and the media have continued to dissect their every interaction, heightening the tension surrounding Caitlin Clark's place in the league. Many are left wondering how long Clark will endure the constant scrutiny and physical play before seeking opportunities outside of the WNBA. The tension doesn't end with Carrington. Alyssa Thomas and Caitlin Clark's on-court matchup during another recent playoff game took an even more shocking turn, resulting in serious accusations and a suspension for Thomas. During the game, Thomas was accused of engaging in aggressive behavior toward Clark, with some labeling the incident as a racist assault. Both players were critical to their teams, Clark, the standout rookie, and Thomas, a seasoned veteran, but the game became overshadowed by controversy. After the Fever were eliminated from the playoffs, the focus quickly shifted to Thomas's post-game comments, in which she accused Indiana Fever fans, many of whom are strong supporters of Clark, of hurling racial abuse. Thomas claimed that in her 11-year career, she had never encountered such hostility from fans, particularly noting the racially charged comments aimed at her during the game.
I think in my 11-year career, I've never experienced the racial comments from the Indiana Fever fan base. You know, we come to play basketball for our job and it's fun, but we don't want to go to work every day and have social media blown up over things like that. It's uncalled for, and something needs to be done, whether it's, you know, them checking their fans or this league checking. There's no time for it anymore.
However, Thomas's accusations were met with mixed reactions. Some critics argued that her comments lacked specific examples and seemed like an attempt to deflect attention from her own performance during the game. The debate intensified when the WNBA decided to suspend Thomas for her actions during the matchup. While some praised the league for taking a stand against potentially racially motivated behavior, others contended that the suspension was a hasty reaction influenced by public pressure without substantial evidence. This incident has raised larger questions about the dynamics of race within the WNBA, particularly in how players and fans interact. Some analysts have pointed out that Clark's rapid rise as a prominent white player in a predominantly black league has heightened tensions, fueling these racially charged exchanges. The controversy has ignited ongoing discussions about whether race is influencing not only player relationships, but also how fans and media perceive interactions on the court. In the midst of all this, Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark's long-standing rivalry continues to captivate basketball fans. Their fiery matchups date back to their collegiate days and have followed them into the WNBA, with each new encounter adding more fuel to the fire. While both players have publicly downplayed any personal animosity, recent incidents have kept the spotlight firmly on them. On September 5, 2024, Angel Reese addressed the rumored feud with Caitlin Clark during the inaugural episode of her podcast, Unapologetically Angel. Reese was quick to clear the air, stating that there is no real animosity between her and Clark, despite how their intense on-court battles might look.
Whenever you think of Angel Reese, people often mention Caitlin Clark. You've said in interviews, there's no beef, but the media keeps going on. So how do you feel about that situation?
Caitlin is an amazing player, and I've always thought she was an amazing player. We've been playing each other since high school. So I think it's really just the fans, her fans, the Iowa fans, now the Indiana fans that are like, they ride for her. And I respect that respectfully, but sometimes it's very disrespectful. I think there's a lot of racism when it comes to it, and I don't believe she stands on any of that.
She reflected on their shared history, dating back to high school, and emphasized that much of the rivalry narrative is driven by fans and the media. However, Reese did admit that the attention has sometimes crossed a line, revealing that she has received racist comments and even death threats. Basketball is just a game, she explained, but when it escalates to death threats or people stalking me to my home, that's crossing a serious line.
But when it comes to death threats, like I'm talking about people have come down to my address, follow me home. Like it's come down to that. Multiple occasions, people have made AI pictures of me like naked, literally.
Really?
They have sent it to my family members. My family members are like, uncles are sending it to me like,
no.
Are you naked on Instagram? It sucks to see that, and it's really hard that I have to go through that, and now seeing other players even having to go through that.
Their rivalry was reignited during the 2024 NCAA Tournament's Elite Eight, when Clark's Iowa team defeated Reese's LSU squad. Fans couldn't ignore the narrative surrounding their rematch, especially after Reese had famously gestured, "You can't see me," to mock Clark during the 2023 NCAA championship game. Though the two players kept things professional during their rematch, the media and fans remain fixated on their every move. Fast forward to June 2024, when tensions flared once again during a WNBA game between Clark's Indiana Fever and Reese's Chicago Sky. After a foul against Clark, Reese was seen clapping in response, a small gesture that reignited conversations about their rivalry. Though both players have downplayed the significance of the moment, it became yet another viral talking point in the media, proving that even the smallest actions between these two can spark major reactions. Despite the ongoing speculation about their rivalry, both Reese and Clark have been vocal about their respect for each other. Reese has pointed out that much of the tension is exaggerated by fans and media, and she emphasized that while competition can lead to heated moments, it should never escalate to the harmful behavior she's experienced. Reese acknowledged the racial undertones in some of the criticisms she receives but remains focused on the game, not the drama. "I respect Caitlin as a player, but some fans take things too far," Reese said, addressing the toxic elements that have come with their rivalry. Clark, for her part, has also expressed admiration for Reese's talent, and both players have hinted at a future where they might play together, possibly for Team USA.
At the end of the day, it's a game that we do both love, but there is no hate. No hate. We're going to play on the same team one day, I'm sure. Like, we're going to definitely play on the same team one day, so.
Their rivalry, while competitive, has undoubtedly brought more attention to women's basketball, drawing in new fans and sparking important discussions about the sport's growth. Adding to the speculation surrounding Clark's future in the WNBA are growing rumors that she might leave the league for Europe. After her difficult rookie season with the Indiana Fever, many believe that Clark could explore opportunities overseas, where conditions might be more favorable for her. Clark has been open about her frustration with the WNBA, particularly regarding the league's physicality and officiating. Her style of play, which relies heavily on finesse and shooting, often clashes with the physical nature of the WNBA. And this dissatisfaction has led to rumors that Clark could be seeking a fresh start in Europe. European leagues, which emphasize fluid, high IQ basketball, might provide a more comfortable environment for Clark to thrive. The added financial benefits of playing in Spain, Italy, or France would only sweeten the deal. Racial tensions within the WNBA have also played a part in fueling these rumors. Clark has faced increased scrutiny, and some analysts speculate that these tensions could influence her decision to leave. For a player of Clark's caliber, a move to Europe would not only offer more favorable playing conditions, but also a fresh start away from the challenges she faces in the WNBA. Rumors have even surfaced that Clark could join the new unrivaled league, backed by Breanna Stewart, which aims to create a fresh platform for women's basketball. However, despite the swirling rumors, Clark has publicly stated that she won't be heading overseas during the WNBA offseason. In exit interviews following her team's playoff run, she confirmed that she plans to take a break from basketball and focus on some much-needed personal time. She humorously mentioned golf as a possible off-season activity, dismissing any immediate plans to play in Europe or elsewhere. While the possibility of playing overseas may not be on her radar just yet, her frustrations with the WNBA and the speculation surrounding her future make it clear that her next moves will be closely watched. If Clark were to leave the WNBA, it would have significant implications for the league. As one of the WNBA's most marketable players, her departure would be a major blow, potentially leading to a decline in viewership and interest. Analysts warn that unless the WNBA addresses the concerns of its top talent, whether it's issues with officiating, the league's physicality, or racial tensions, it risks losing more players to overseas leagues where conditions might be more favorable. Clark's situation is a reminder that the WNBA must continue to evolve if it hopes to retain its brightest stars. Caitlin Clark is at a crossroads. With players like Dejanai Carrington, Alyssa Thomas, and Angel Reese seemingly out to break her, could this be the final straw that drives her away from the WNBA? The pressure is mounting, and the speculation about her potential departure to Europe is only growing louder. Will Clark stay and fight, or will she seek greener pastures overseas? Stay tuned, because whatever happens next, it's going to shake the WNBA to its core.
It's going to be nice, though. I think getting out of the spotlight and just getting to live my life and do things that I want to do, and not have to sit and I love talking to all of you, but it's going to be nice to not have to sit in front of a microphone, multiple times a week. I really appreciate all of you, but it will be nice to kind of get away and relax for a little bit. And I appreciate everything you all do as well, so I thank you.
You got me down again.
Caitlin Clark's potential departure from the WNBA to play in Europe has shocked fans and analysts alike. While her frustration with the league's physicality and officiating has been well documented, a deeper factor may be at play: the rising racial tensions within the league, specifically tied to Alyssa Thomas's recent accusations. Could this racial controversy be the final push for Clark to explore opportunities overseas? Clark's rookie season was undeniably electric, with her breaking records, lifting the Indiana Fever out of irrelevance, and propelling the WNBA into the spotlight. However, this meteoric rise came at a cost. From facing brutal physical defense to controversial no-calls, like Dijanai Carrington's infamous eye poke, Clark has felt unprotected by the league's officiating. "I feel like I'm getting hammered, and opponents get away with things that other players don't," she said in an interview after the Fever's heartbreaking playoff exit.
Yeah, I think just being competitive is who I am. It's what I've done my whole career. I think at times there's ways I can probably channel it a little bit better, but that's just basketball at the end of the day. That's never gonna change. I'm never gonna lose that. I feel like I'm getting hammered. I don't know. I appreciate Christy getting the tech too.
While the physical toll alone was draining, it's becoming evident that the environment in the WNBA, beyond the court, has been a growing source of frustration for Clark. And nothing exemplifies this more than the recent racial controversy stirred by Alyssa Thomas. After the Fever's playoff elimination, Alyssa Thomas took the stage not to discuss her team's win, but to accuse Caitlin Clark's fan base of racism. Thomas claimed that in her 11-year career, she had never experienced such vitriol, implying that Clark's sudden rise to stardom is somehow tied to racial bias.
Honestly, it's been a lot of nonsense. I think in my 11-year career, I've never experienced the racial comments from the Indiana Fever fan base. We had her face on a serious matter that happened in this world, and it's unacceptable, honestly. And there's no place for it. And
Thomas stated, indirectly linking Clark's popularity to her predominantly white fan base. This wasn't just a comment on trolls or online hate. It was an accusation that essentially targeted the league's new fan base, many of whom had started watching because of Clark's presence. Thomas painted a picture that Clark's success and the attention she received were products of race rather than talent. For Clark, this must have felt like the ultimate slap in the face. After working tirelessly to prove herself on the court, she now found herself at the center of a racial debate she never asked for. It's not difficult to see how this racial narrative, combined with the physical play she's endured, may have been the final straw for Clark. While she's been the face of the WNBA's growth, she's also become its most controversial figure, largely due to factors beyond her control. From Alyssa Thomas's public accusations to other players using racial tensions to stir controversy, Clark is caught in a political and racial firestorm that could be pushing her to leave the league altogether. In her press conference, Clark didn't directly address the racial allegations, but she made it clear she's had enough. "I need a reset. I need to get away from all of this," she said. Many speculate that this reset could involve a move to Europe, where she could focus on her game without the external pressures that have consumed her WNBA experience.
Basketball was something I absolutely loved to do, but there was a lot of other things I had to have done in my life, whether it was school, whether it was emptying the dishwasher or taking out the trash. I had chores, it stunk. I think it'll definitely be a little bit of an adjustment period for myself, not really, having to do that so much. I woke up yesterday and I'm I don't know what I'm gonna really do. So it's gonna be nice though. I think getting out of the spotlight and just getting to live my life and do things that I wanna do, and not have to Sid and I love talking to all of you, but it's going to be nice to not have to sit in front of a microphone.
Europe could offer Clark the chance to play in a league with a different focus and potentially a more balanced environment, free from the racial tensions that have started to define her WNBA journey. Clark's possible move to Europe isn't just a personal decision, it's a potential disaster for the WNBA. Since joining the league, Clark has transformed the Fever into a money-making machine. Attendance for Indiana games skyrocketed by 400%, ticket sales surged by 60%, and her jersey became the top seller in league history. Her games drew millions of viewers, eclipsing even matchups featuring other WNBA stars like Breanna Stewart and Aja Wilson. Clark wasn't just a player, she was the league's main attraction. Losing her would be a financial and public relations nightmare for the WNBA. With Clark considering an exit, the league is staring down the barrel of losing its biggest draw and, potentially, its new fan base. But beyond the economic impact, Clark's departure would expose the deep issues that have been festering within the WNBA. Race, politics, and the struggle for equality within a league that has long prided itself on inclusivity. Clark leaving the WNBA would be a signal that the league isn't ready to protect and nurture its top talent. It could also set a dangerous precedent for other players who feel unsupported or unfairly targeted. If the WNBA can't resolve the tension brewing within its ranks, more players may begin to look elsewhere. But for now, all eyes are on Clark. Will she pack her bags and head to Europe? If she does, it won't just be a career shift. It will be a turning point for the WNBA. What do you think? Is Caitlin Clark justified in considering a move to Europe? Let me know in the comments below.